So we've gone through this quick little discussion about the Battle of Plataea and the opening days and a couple of different little skirmishes that have occurred. And this river, the Asopsis River, is a fairly strong sticking point for both armies, and neither side was really prepared to come down the slopes or ridges on either side of the river and engage with each other and try and cross the river and break up their formations. And the Greeks really held tough and refused to move despite several skirmishes that occurred. They moved their forces back a little and changed a few things. Then we had the situation where from there the Persian cavalry starts trying to interdict the supply trains that are coming in, and do a fairly good job of that. And in fact, what they end up doing is causing enough pain for the Greeks that they realize that they absolutely have to do something. But Mardonius has the same problem in terms of supply. He's got a very large army and not a lot of people to feed it. And so he is looking for change as well. And so he's trying to force the situation by attacking the various springs. We mentioned it earlier on. The Gargaphia springs were either poisoned or rendered inoperable or unusable by some means, and we can probably imagine that might be may have been a pig slaughtered in it, or rotted animals or carcasses thrown in there, or who knows. Or maybe it was something that could have been cleaned out. We don't know. But anyway, so that with that spring now damaged, that has forced the hand of the Greeks, and the Greeks now have to make some decisions about what they're going to do. Well, and before we continue reading any more of Herodotus, it's important to note that not only was the situation grim from a logistical standpoint with victuals and water and whatnot, but we also had the prophecies and the omens that were weighing very heavily on these two suspicious, yes, I think that's a good word to use, superstitious races that relied, as many did in those days, on the omens of a slaughtered calf, lamb, chicken, whatever it may be, before they made decisions about anything. Excuse me. So with all this action going on, we also have Alexander I, Macedonian noble and king, who is playing both sides against the other, and he whizzes across and to the Greeks and gives them a little intel, and the Greeks react to that. And now we really have the stage set for what will then transpire. And Herodotus uses the words choking of the springs. I'll show you the springs here. These are the springs. Right. They were choked in some way, shape, or form, and these forces here were much further forward. So some sort of cavalry action came in here and messed up the springs. So it was at that point that the captains held a meeting and elected to, in the night, move their forces back and gather here in what is called the island. And that decision, while probably a good thing, certainly was cause for concern. Let me just read a little bit of that for you here. So this tract was a sort of island in the continent, for there is a river which, dividing near its source, runs down from Mount Citharon into the plain below in two streams flowing in channels about 3 furlongs apart, after which after a while unite and become one. The name of the river is, I'm not going to be able to pronounce this correctly because it has all sorts of funky little accentuations over the E's. Oreo, it's kind of like an Oreo cookie, Oreo, and the dwellers in this part call it the daughter of the Asopsis, which is the river that is just up that way. Right. This was the place to which the Greeks resolved to move, and they chose it first because they would give them no lack of water, and second because the horse could not harass them as much when they were drawn up right into the front of the river lines here. So there you have it. Having made these resolves, they continued during the whole day to suffer beyond measure from the attacks of the enemy's horse, and the horse kept coming up and firing off their arrows and all the composite bows and all that sort of good stuff, and making prickly pears out of the Spartans and the Greeks and the Athenians. Right, let's see. At length towards dusk, the attacks of the horse ceased, and the night having closed when the hour arrived, the army was to commence the retreat. The greater number struck their tents and began the march towards the rear. They were not minded, however, to make for the place agreed upon, but in their anxiety to escape from the Persian horse, no sooner had they begun to move than they fled straight to Plataea, where they took up post at the temple of Juno, which is there's a temple of Hera there, and the temple of Juno. I actually don't think that's on this map. It's probably off map, perhaps. Nevertheless, as soon as Pausanias saw a portion of the troops in motion, he issued orders to the Lacedaemonians, the Spartans, to strike their tents and follow those who had been the first to part, supposing that they were on their march to the place agreed upon. And all the captains but one were ready to obey his orders. And of course, there has to be one noble Spartan, right? Amorphoratus, however, the son of Polyidus, who was a leader of one of the cohorts, refused to move, saying, he, for one, would not fly from the strangers of his own, will bring disgrace upon Sparta. Pardon me. He, for one, would not fly from the strangers, or of his own, will bring disgrace upon Sparta. Oh, I said it right. There you go. So as it happened, he decided to hang out. So that kind of spoils things a little bit for the retreat.